Oh, sorry. I actually didn't know we are recording already. But anyway, hello. I welcome you back to IT Genius Cyber once again. And I'm Nelly Toha. So pleased to take you through this wonderful beginner course for Flutter. Yeah, so we shall actually go into introduction of Flutter. We shall go into introduction of Flutter, and we shall actually define what Flutter means, what Flutter does, what are the advantages of Flutter, why are we actually going into Flutter. Yeah, I know different programmers have been actually going into development for applications, web apps, then desktop applications using React Native. Some have been using JavaScript or Java, sorry, or some have been using Kotlin. Yeah, but we're not going to be handling that. We're not going to be handling any of this. However much you can still use any preferably language to go in for mobile applications or any development for for web apps or desktop applications. That is okay with you. But today we are actually going to be dealing with Flutter platform. And what is Flutter in the first place? So Flutter is an open source UI, or what you could call is user interface software development framework created by Google actually. Yeah, that's what makes it more secure. So it's also created by Google. It's a platform for Google actually. So with Flutter, it's a platform that allows us to have a privilege to write code in a single code base. A single code base means that you actually have one single code and you can actually give it to other platforms. Let's say you come up with a code or a source code for an Android application, right? And you can actually alter it a small bit of it into a web application, and you can still alter it just a little bit of it. Then you come up with a software, either Android, iOS, web, or desktop. So the good use of Flutter, or what I like about Flutter, is that we are just using one single code base for the rest of the development. Yeah, so that's the fancy bit the fancy bit of it that I really love most. Yeah, so we shall go into what is required for Flutter and how do we set up Flutter. In the next video, I will show you how to actually install Flutter and how to set it up for development and what is required. But initially, we shall try to introduce to ourselves what is really required, or what does Flutter use, or what is used within Flutter. What do we need actually? Yeah. So I'll say, let's say this is Flutter at the topmost. Flutter at the topmost. Then we shall come to programming. Before we actually come to programming, we shall come to the Flutter SDK. This is a software development toolkit for Flutter. Then after that, we shall come to, let me use something different here. We shall come to the programming language, and that is Dart. We shall come to that programming language. So starting off with Flutter, first of all, we need a Flutter SDK. Then the programming language we shall be using within the Flutter SDK is that programming language. Then after understanding that programming language, we shall go into now developing our applications on a large scale. We shall go in with the Android, iOS, web, desktop. And all these, we are actually using one single code base to come up with all of this. It is just one single code base to come up with all these respective platforms or applications actually. Yeah. So let me just bring another page here, try to make it wide. Okay. So what we shall study, or what we shall start with in our tutorials after maybe setting up Flutter. In the next video, we are going to see how to set up Flutter on both Windows or on both Windows and Mac. Yeah, sometimes people use Linux platforms for OS, but we are not going to be dealing with Linux for now. We are not going to be dealing with Linux for now. We shall be handling Windows and Mac. Yeah, that's what we are going to be using. So I prefer you to be having a PC that is having any of those OS, so that we can actually start off with Linux. Actually, maybe I'll post a video on how to set up Linux later, but for now we are going to be dealing with Windows and Mac, because Linux, I don't think most people use Linux for coding developments. Yeah, for application developments usually. Yeah. So after that, let's say now you have set up your PC, you have your operating system, and you have your SDK set up on your operating system, as we shall see in the next video. Out of that, then we actually going to look at introduction. Then after the introduction, we shall go into programming, fundamentals. We shall go into programming fundamentals. Then after that, we shall look at what we call widgets in Flutter. I'm going to explain this. Then after that, we shall look at what we call navigation of widgets through different widgets. Then after this, we shall go into stateless and stateful widgets. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and explain this. We shall look at the introduction. We shall look at the introduction. We look at programming fundamentals, in case you haven't done with programming ethics or syntax. Yeah, I'll take you through, and this is a chance for you to actually get to know what programming means, because different people actually take programming to be the same as coding, but they're two different things actually. Yeah, because with programming, we are dealing with the essentials of a language. So it doesn't depend on which language you're dealing with but what is the concept of programming? How do we use operators? How do we use variables? How do we use loops? How do we deal with logical operators or if statements? So that is all programming, in not depending on a language, but that's what exactly you need to know. So we shall go into all that, and this is a chance for you to actually cover up programming, and then you do the coding for the application, whether mobile or iOS or any other platform we mentioned up there. Yeah, so try to maximize this, open up another page here. Okay, so let's say you're starting off with Flutter. I want you to get to know the basics or how your app looks like, what is required for your application. Let's say you have a suitcase, right? You have a suitcase. Let's say this is a suitcase. You have a suitcase and you have different allocation of your suitcase. Sorry, different allocated places. Let's say you have a portion there, you have a portion there, you have a portion here, you have a portion here as well. Let me make them of a different color. Oh. Okay, so let's say you have different allocations where you put stuff, right? So here you're putting pens. Here putting books. Here, let's say here, what do you want to put? Pants. And over here, you're going to put, let's say, jackets, or let's say sweaters. And then finally, here, you're going to put socks. So let us try to explain this. Okay, so in your suitcase, you have pens, you have books, you have pants, you have sweaters, you have socks, right? But you're putting them in different allocations. So what we call those different allocations, they can be pages to be opened, right? They can be pages to be opened in your application. But your entire suitcase is what we are taking as a material widget. A material widget. And within the material widget, we have the opening. We have the surface where your stuff is kept. And that surface, the inside surface, the enclosure surface, which is allowing you to keep content within your material widget, is what we call a scaffold. So something within here is, let's say, let me try to make it different. I'll make it green. Green is already there. Okay. So as I mentioned, that your suitcase is the material widget, right? Then inside a suitcase, we shall have what we call a scaffold. A scaffold widget. A scaffold widget is that enclosure that allows you to put different books. To put books, pens, pants, and socks. So it's what's allowing you to partition the material widget into what you want. Okay, so maybe a bit of an example which is more realistic could be, let me get a new page here. So let's say you have a book. Okay, you have a book. A book is just like this. Sorry, I might not be good in art. Okay, so we have a book like that, right? And we have the cover of the book. You have the cover of the book, right? We have the page, or the opening of the page, right? The inside page. Then let's say inside this page you have another page. You have an inner content actually. Content, what should we call it? Yeah, let us call it content. Okay, so inside a book, sorry, before even you open up the book, you have the cover of the book, right? Then you have a page within the book, or the first page that actually comes, right? Then within that page you have content, right? So that's what we actually want to follow up. Yeah. Then so if we're dealing with Flutter, we shall let me just use the same colors, just like that. And this was blue. Okay, so with Flutter, instead of using cover, page, then content, we shall go into using I'll just name them like this. This is what we call a material widget. So that is the cover of your application, a material widget. Then inside the material widget, so sorry, this comes up to here. Let me just made a mistake. Oops. Okay. So this on top, this white one, is the material. The material widget. Then inside here, inside it, for the yellow one, this is what we call a scaffold. A scaffold. Then inside a scaffold, inside a scaffold is where we have the body. The body. So the body can contain anything, whether pictures or writings, anything you put in, right? So that is what a full page is. So to come up with a page, or to come up with an application, we shall use the same sequences. We shall always have a material app. We shall always have let me just take green. We shall have a material app. Oh, I didn't select it. Okay. Shall have a material app. We shall have a scaffold. Then we shall have please delete this. We shall have a material app. We shall have a scaffold. Then we shall have a body. So that is actually what we're going to follow up. Yeah. As I said, for a book, you have a cover. You have inside the cover you have a page, right? Have a page, right? Then within a page you have content. So content can actually take in anything. Whether your content is going to be with pictorial graphics, or it's going to be written content, that is text. So this is what is going to be the body of your application. So the body is inside a scaffold. Then the scaffold is inside a material widget. Then this is a scaffold. Then the blue one comes in as the body of the application. So whatever you need to output on the screen is going to be taken into the body, not into the material app, but into the body. Because if you take it into the material app is the cover of your application, right? So to elaborate it more, I'll go down here and say we have a material app on the top. We have Flutter. Flutter takes in the Dart, that takes in the SDK that allows us to use the Dart language. Then we shall take in the material app. Material app widget. After the material app widget, we shall go into using a scaffold. Scaffold that is going to allow us to have the body of our application. And the body can be other widgets. So I said we start off with a material app, number one. Then we start sorry, we go to the next one. We shall be having a scaffold. It's also a widget. Then after that, we shall go into having a body. Then the body can have more widgets. As I said, it can have more widgets. As we said here, we have maybe pictorial graphics or text, or maybe different animations in case you want them in your applications, graphs, whatever you want. So that's what carries within the body. Then for the material app, the material app widget, is responsible to calling the home of your application, right? Then going into the scaffold, it's responsible for calling the body of your application. So what do we mean by home or body? Since that material app is the cover of your application, so it needs where to land. Well, it needs to know what is the landing widget of your application. So this comes in as the home. This comes in as the home widget. Sorry, the home constructor to build the first initialized widget, right? Yeah, and the first initialized widget we shall always call a scaffold. Yeah, some people actually wrap this into a safe area, but we shall try to safe area widget. We shall try actually to explain that when we're into code. Then I said a scaffold calls in a body constructor. Yeah, so we have constructors, we have widgets, we have functions which we shall see later, not now, but for now we shall be dealing with widgets a lot because Flutter deals with widgets. As I told you up here that for a book, it's having a cover page, then it has a page inside, and within a page we have content, right? So I'll go down here. I say we need widgets. Then we shall okay. I think let me just not complicate stuff, because if we need widgets, then we shall go into functions and then how to deal with variables, how to deal with, but all that we shall cover up in programming fundamentals first before we go into widgets. Then we shall see how to deal with widgets, navigation of widgets, and yeah, something I wanted to clarify with widgets. We denote widgets with this. Then you'll find a lot of constructors denoted by ending with this, and all widgets, sorry, let me use different colors so that you don't get confused. Let me just wrap this up. I said these are constructors, right? You may find another, let's say, functions. Whether async functions or normal functions, we shall actually go into looking into that. And I said with widgets, we shall have always brackets like this, then constructors. They are those that actually help us to construct different widgets, right? So when I said a widget, material app widget, it calls a home constructor which builds a scaffold widget, right? Then a scaffold widget comes into building what we call the body. Then the body constructor builds any other widget. Let's say content widgets, let's say text widget, and we shall always denote with these kinds of brackets. And you might find out all widgets in Flutter start with capital letters and constructors, we shall actually be using small letters. Yeah, so we shall go into looking into that when maybe we get deep down into code. But for now, let us end here, and in the next tutorial we shall see how to we shall see how to install or set up Flutter for our projects on both Mac OS operating systems and Windows for now. I'm sorry, we shall not cover up Linux apparently, yeah, but we shall be dealing with this too. So catch up in the next tutorial on how to install Flutter SDK and the rest of the dependencies in your operating system. Thanks for watching.